Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of USL League One. We got a whole bunch to talk about. We got USL Cup sets. We got teams about to get sued by Marvel. We got to complain about bear prices. We got teams trying to figure out what's their scoring option. And does Greenville have a collapse? Find out and more. This week's episode of Walking 90. I'm your host, as always, Yogi McBar. And joining me is the guy that had to figure out how to work a microphone and that got his room checked by his wife. Mr. Chip, how are you doing, my good man?
Good. It's ultimately very fitting. My wife just started a work from home job, and I've been complaining about running tech support for her all week. So, of course, I have a tech support issue, and everyone gets to see me struggle with basic technology. So it's only fitting.
It is. It is. And next to us is a guy that made it big on social media that's in his basement, but his team showed up to his door to deliver stuff. This is Mr. Kyle Carr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Otherwise, yeah, it was a good time to see some of the players. Good time to get a nice training top. Can't complain about that. So vibes are good.
Right. All right. So before we get started, I just want to look at this video.
Yep.
Now, for those that are in audio, promise you, go watch our YouTube. This is what the real show is. But let's look at Mr. Kyle Carr and these touches. Kyle, do you want to go to this video with us?
Yeah, sure. This was only the second attempt, by the way. So the fact that I got an attempt two, not bad. The first touch, very happy with.
This right here. That's an ACL. Look at that knee.
Oh yeah, like that. It's the other knee that actually is in worse shape than the left knee is not great. The right knee is totally fine. Now the ankles are a different story. Now, yeah, the first touch, very happy with the first touch. No complaints there. The second touch, that is what let me down. That is really where it went downhill for me.
All right. Yep. It's like you're anticipating the ball coming to you. Like, hold on, wait, yeah, I got it. Okay, all right.
Yeah, like I said, the second one, even at the time, no one had gotten more than one. So, like I said, the second touch is really what I could have done better on the second touch. Very happy with the first touch, and then the third one was just a flick on. So.
I'm just more surprised than anything that Yogi has no Twitter notifications.
No, I don't. I check my Twitter. Check your Twitter, folks.
Also, you need to cut it with your goddamn name on Twitter.
What you mean?
What do you mean? What you mean?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. It is. Look. Okay. Folks, let's be real.
We're not going to talk about it then?
It's spring. It's sundress season. It's demon season. We already know how this is about to go. Kyle, Chip, is that your wife? Get your wife. Ask your wife to come here. Chip's wife.
Hey, Chris, come here. You're needed.
She's gone.
She says she is not fit for camera, but I'll ask her. What's
right,
your question
so
for?
We need to figure
Chris.
out. We need to ask her this. Is this not sundress season?
Kristen, is it sundress season?
Huh?
Is it sundress season?
Yes.
She says yes, it is sundress season.
Is that not demon season?
It's sundress season, demon season.
It's sundress season what?
Demon season.
No, it's brunch season.
She said it's brunch season.
Same thing, because they coming home from brunch drunk, which means they want to do the whoop-de-whoop, which means, guys, you have no control about what's about to happen. If I'm lying, I'm dying. If I'm lying,
here's what happens. You end up with children.
Exactly, like you.
Well, what was it? There's a tweet about that from a few years ago where it's like, don't let a $35 sundress ruin the next 35 years of your life.
Only 35? Damn, that's impressive.
Hey, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, folks.
That's why you just do them bang, bang, quick succession. And that way...
So you get caught up in 2 sundress seasons.
Back to back.
Kyle saw this one for the sundress. She's like, you know what? I want another one.
Back to back. 2019 and then 2020. It happened. 2021 made it through.
Back to back like Union Omaha 2021, 2022.
We're not going that far. But it's fine. It was fine.
Oh, man. This is what I love about the show. All right, guys. Let's go ahead. Let's drive into it. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got U.S. Open Cup results. We got to talk about Greenville, whether or not to hit the panic button or not. We got to talk about last week's results. So where do you guys want to start off at?
I feel like we should start with the cup sets. I honestly feel like that's got to be like the big thing because that was a banner. It was a banner week for USL League One teams in the Open Cup.
Right. Because what are we, Kyle? We are the big dog league, right?
Exactly. Even not every team won, but every USL League One team put up a fight. And I think for a lot of clubs, they weren't expecting that.
Every team, Kyle?
I said they put up a fight. I didn't say every team won.
Sorry, that was a low blow, but
two set pieces. You know what? If the only goals you're going to concede are just set pieces, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Adrian Heath took notes. He saw what happened. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to end up like these teams. I'm going to put out a squad that is going to try and win.
Right. So let's go through the results, guys. South Georgia Tormentor, they go up on the road to Birmingham Legion, who, by the way, got fined because they had to change the location of the stadium. They beat Birmingham 2-0. Then we got Chips, Union Omaha. They went on penalties 7-6. But I got to admit, had two banger goals that came out of nowhere. Then we had FC Tucson, who lost late to Cal United Strikers. We had Mavericks with kickers when a slugfest 1-0 against North Carolina Fusion. Fort Madison lost 2-0 to their bigger brothers, Minnesota United. Greenville tried to go toe-to-toe with their bigger brothers, Charlotte FC, who supporters want you to believe they invented football in the Carolinas. I didn't say that. They said it on the podcast, and we're just reiterating it. They lost 2-1. And then, and probably the most shocking result of the night, North Carolina Hailstorm 2, who is yet to play a home game, beats Real Salt Lake with Bobby Wood, who scored Wood 0 to Northern Colorado's 1. And then Central Valley Fuego lost late on a penalty. We all know who gave it the penalty because he led the league last year in penalties. They lost 2-1 to Sacramento Republic FC. So, guys, we're not going to break through every game because if we did, we'll be here all week. What was your most impressive match out of those? What was your most impressive match?
The most impressive upset of the night was definitely me back at the bar with all the Chicago Fire fans talking incredible shit on Twitter. But then when I was talking to them, I was like, oh, yeah, rough year. We really got you guys in a bad spot. And you got it all while at the same time I'm just tweeting some just toxic shit online.
Chip ain't gonna lie to you, dog. I thought you was about to get stabbed out there. I thought you was about to die.
It was one of those where if you had ended up on O Block, you would not have been here.
No, absolutely not. I was like, yeah, this is the last we gonna see a Chip.
They were very gracious, and when we were at the bar, we were very nice to them, and they understood it was kind of a really exciting time, and it was just fun kind of talking back and forth about what's going on and how big for the club. And I know a couple of them are actually going to come out now for the Cole meetup that's happening out here in August. So that's pretty cool.
You said a Cole meetup?
Yeah, FC Cole.
Yeah.
They have their meetup in Omaha. Last year it was in Madison. This year it's in Omaha.
That's like 2 blocks from my house.
Oh, you're talking about the club. I dead ass thought you were talking about like Cole, like actual like Cole. I was like, why the fuck are supporter groups meeting up for Cole? Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. All right.
Yeah. So it was fun. They're great hosts, which made it even funnier. We got kettled at the end of the game. We were trying to leave, and they literally took us and like pushed us in a corner, had security all around us. And the guy who gave me a ride over was like, Can I get that one? Like he's picking a lobster out of a tank. And they're like, no, wait for him in the parking lot. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's something I've never experienced before because, of course, like a lower league stadium is like, all right, going to leave. Like, I've never experienced like having to wait 30 minutes to leave the stadium because they're like, oh, we don't want fights. And I'm like, dude, these are a bunch of middle-aged white people. Ain't nothing about to happen. Oh, these people got 9 to 5s.
I was gonna say this was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Like nothing's gonna happen.
Right. Like, sir, I'm trying to get home. It is cold. Let me
it looked cold. It looked cold over there. I will say. Like it looked cold.
Right. It was like upper 40s or lower 40s, upper 30s. So that wasn't too bad.
I would say better weather than the Madison one. That was cold and raining. That was
because it's so high. At least none of the wind got down into the bowl, which is nice. So then it's just kind of like, well, It's just cold. There's no wind. Classic Midwestern, right? It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the wind.
Right.
But no, it was great, especially seeing two of our guys score goals from open play. I know that was something that I was really worried about this year, was seeing us score. And while it was, if you let them tell it was their like F team, but they had one of their starters in. They brought in a couple starters.
I mean, they had their captain.
Yeah,
Right.
so
I'm
it's
not,
kinda like,
I'm not-
well,
I'm not believing that story of this is our F team. Like, okay, yes, you played a couple of kids, but you have 4 starters and another 5 on the bench.
yeah.
I don't want to hear nothing about an F team.
That's why my comment with these things is always like, well, if you wanted to win, then you should have played to win. And then if you lose, like, that's not really my fault that I beat your B team. I beat the team that you put out there.
Right.
They represent you, right? Because if you won, you'd be like, oh, you lost to our B team. No. You played the team that was in front of us. Kyle, my man, what is your game of the week?
Omaha definitely impressed me because, I mean, in the second half, you could definitely tell, like, Chicago had all the chances in the first half, and then it got to the second half, and Omaha was starting to grow into the game. That first goal was that was a wonderful goal, I will say that. And then, obviously, Chicago gets a pen and added extra time, and you're thinking, okay, it's getting late, and then Omaha with that equalizer, it was just like, I don't know what the hell Chicago's thinking. And I had said before, like, if this goes to penalties, I trust Nuhu will make a save or two. And he did, and I was right. So that was good.
They were really talking about, like, Nuhu and these best penalties. Like, I was kind of rooting for him, man, because I'm like, he got to overcome this demon.
I mean, I'm just saying. But, yeah, so I would say Omaha winning was obviously very impressive. Also, Hailstorm winning, also very impressive. Again, it's not like Real Salt Lake was playing scrubs either. Like, they played Ochoa. Like, they played their number 1 keeper. They're still playing Rubio Ruben. Like, they were still playing dudes that are consistently getting MLS minutes. So it's not like they were throwing out. I mean, yes, most of it was still, the Real Monarchs kind of guys, but they still put out a quality team. So the fact that Hailstorm was able to go in and get that win was, I mean, it was huge, especially considering it's not like Hailstorm was they didn't have much of the ball. They didn't have many shots. They were defensively very, very sound, which I was impressed because I was not expecting NoCo to be that defensively sound of a team. I figured their attack would get them, 2-3 goals a game. I didn't know what to expect out of defense. So the fact that they held this team to a clean sheet and they were able to get that goal off the set piece and they were able to not give Real Salt Lake a lot of good chances. I mean, I think Real Salt Lake only had like 2 or 3 shots on target. It was not that many shots either. So it's not like the keeper had to stand on his head like Nuhu did in the first half. So I think that was the very impressive part with NoCo, is the fact that they were so defensively sound, to go along with Omaha obviously going in and both doing this on the road. Very impressive. So, and I think those 2 losses definitely gave Charlotte and Minnesota United more food for thought of how they wanted to approach their lineup.
Yeah, I definitely agree with it. I think my most impressive game of the week is definitely South Georgia Tormenta. I mean, previously, look how they're playing now versus how we all perceived them to be at the very start of the year. 2 very good wins in the USL Cup against 2, I wouldn't say mid-table USL Championship teams, but 2 very good.
But no teams to scoff against. It's not like they're going against like the bottom of the barrel.
USL Championship teams. Tormenta went out there and did a good job. They look like those 2 games in the championship have boosted their season, and we see that. You see that with teams when they play in these cups, they kind of use that energy to kind of push them along the rest of the year. And can Tormenta keep this momentum going? We'll talk about that later, but that was mine. Guys, we had the draw last Thursday. We had another Inter Miami fan, but I think it was a little bit better. We had a dad and his daughter who did the draw, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was really, really rooting for Richmond to get Charlotte FC. We did. But we're going to talk about the rest of the games that got drawn out of this. So we got South Georgia Tormenta playing Inter Miami FC. We got Union Omaha versus NoCo in the USL League One matchup because MLS has to protect their rights. We're joking, but are we?
Not really.
Are we? I think we're joking.
Richmond, of course, plays Charlotte FC. And
at home.
That is it. Yeah. That is it for USL League One.
Yeah.
So, guys, out of those 3 matchups, which game are you most looking forward to? Which game are you like, hey, this team can do it?
I'm looking at Tormenta Inter Miami for a couple of reasons. One, Tormenta is a perfect cup team. where
Yes.
maybe they are the team that you don't know what the hell they're going to expect going into a single game knockout. Like, I think it kind of reminds me, and I'm going to be biased, like it kind of reminds me of like the older Liverpool teams where they can never do it in the league because they never had the depth. But you put their 11 out there and they can go on a cup run. And it's kind of the same thing I'm seeing with Tormenta. Also, the last time Tormenta played in Fort Lauderdale Stadium was the absolute greatest game in USL League One history. That Marco Micheletto himself even said, "What the fuck is going on?" So that is why I'm going to watch it, because those two reasons exactly. I think the NOCO Omaha match will definitely be interesting. Also because it is good to see how they'll match up. Obviously, I would have rather both of them get MLS opponents because we want to see USL League One go further. But at least now we are guaranteed a USL League One team going to the round of 16. But yeah, the Inter Miami Tormenta, just because that could potentially, I think that one could be a cup set, because I don't know what to expect out of Tormenta. I think they're firing on all cylinders. And I think Inter Miami, they might not take this as seriously as they should.
So what about you, my man?
Well, and I agree with Kyle on that too, because Tormenta hasn't knocked off an MLS side yet. Like, if I'm an MLS side and I see Union Omaha or NOCO, I'm like, well, those guys already beat an MLS side. So maybe I need to at least start like my second string and some starters instead of, just saying, it's an easy win. And I think that's the big thing, is a lot of teams this year have learned that League One teams, you can't take it as an easy dub, because a lot of teams have egg on their face.
We're not
after doing
soft.
that. Mm-hmm.
We run this.
I want to say Charlotte was taken to the limit. Like, even though they won, like, Charlotte was still taken to the limit.
Pretty much every game, even the Madison game, the scoreline didn't show it, but you guys duked it out with them for the whole time.
Yeah. And like I said, it was literally 2 set piece goals that, and you can talk to any Ford Madison player coach, they could have done better with that. And is what it is. Like, I'd rather that and know, like, okay, that's just something you can fix, as opposed to we just got played off the field.
Right. And that's kind of what I saw in the Chicago fans before was, if we concede in the last minute 2-0, that's a moral victory. And I think it's the same thing with Madison. It's like you're close. And so I think that's the advantage Tormenta has, is it doesn't jump off the page because they didn't beat an MLS team. But I have to go, since I know what game Yogi's going to pick. I'll pick Omaha, Northern Colorado. So it's the game that's guaranteed to get us at least one team from USL 1 into the round of 16. We're going to get 3, but we're guaranteed 1. It'll be fun. We've been talking a lot to the NOCO fans. Great group of people out there. I'm working on some stuff with them to create some cool content beforehand. A big group of them are coming down. So it's a fun little birth of our friendship with them as fans and everything else. And I think it's going to be really cool. It's being played at a local college stadium, not the same one we've been playing at. That's a little bit more intimate. So I think it should be a fun time. And I think, again, it's at least one USL, one club going on to the round of 16 guaranteed. So
that's going to call it the Sweet 16. This is a NCAA tournament.
I know. I have to get
all the NCAA tournament gets the Sweet 16 label.
Gabe, to answer your question, it's Omaha and NOCO tied. Omaha was the first team to ever beat an MLS club from USL 1, and then as a USL 1 team,
I was gonna say
that don't matter in their history. I'm glad Gabe asked this question. Gabe, you are absolutely correct. It is the Richmond Kickers. The Richmond Kickers have beaten the most MLS teams in their history. And we bring another one in the City Stadium. We bring Charlotte FC. And boy, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
Is their house going to survive? That's the follow-up question.
It's going to be tough, man. Like, seeing Charlotte from the first 2 games to now, they're definitely improved. But the thing that Richmond does best, and I want to see how you guys are, because you guys aren't fans. So you guys look at Richmond differently than how I look at them. Like, Richmond MO is, we're going to sit very tight, and we're going to force you out of the wings. Yeah, you can have the ball in front of us and whatnot, but like inside, I probably say 5 yards in front of the 18-yard box, we're going to push you out to the wings. Offensively, we're looking to get in behind you. It's like, if we can play in between you, all right, we'll try it. But if not, we're going to chip it long onto the wings and do a cut back to Chizavi. Am I right?
Yeah. Here's what I think could happen with Charlotte, because Charlotte seems like the type of team where they're going to try and pass their way out of a situation, which not a bad idea, but
Yeah.
against Richmond, that is exactly what they want you to do. That is the
Right.
style that they want. They want Charlotte to pass around. They want them to try and build up, get Charlotte to inch further and further up the field, and then you get it out wide to Bolaños. You get it over, you get it to your guys out wide, go forward, get the ball into the box with Terzaghi or whichever midfield combination they decide to go, and have that second run come in. Maybe Nil is the one that kind of is able to put that killer ball in. That is what Richmond wants. So I think it'll be interesting to see, does Charlotte go with that approach of we're going to slowly build it up like we did with Greenville? And are we going to try this 4-4-1-1? Are we going to go with more of that 4-3-3, 4-4-2 that they've been trying to tinkering around with? That is what I'm curious about. But it's interesting because I feel like Charlotte's going to want to try and prove something and go all out. Yes, because they're probably thinking their MLS season not going to go that well. And yes, they have improved. But this is still a team that is still trying to gel together. They only had like 10 games total.
Yeah.
Well,
And the
you have
thing is,
a good
like-
core, a good amount of this Richmond core has played together for now 2-3 years.
Right.
Mhm.
And the thing is about Richmond is, don't get me wrong, this team has not looked impressive in the US Open Cup. I think if you ask Darren or any other players, they haven't looked impressive. Have they gotten the job done? Yes. But they haven't looked impressive. We went to extra time with North Carolina NC Fusion, who also beat Charlotte, But the difference between the Charlotte game and the NOCO game is Charlotte just didn't know when to just sit back and just hold off. Richmond did that, but now they didn't create the offense.
But I think there's also the main thing is Richmond's going to go. Richmond's been the favorite team. Richmond's been the team that is expected to win. And there is a difference between being the favorite and being expected to win because of the perception of, okay, you're playing a USL League 2 team. You're playing, an NPSL team. As opposed to, we're playing with house money. Kind of like with Omaha. Kind of like with NOCO. Kind of like with Fort Massey. Kind of like with Greenville. We have house money. We go in. We can go all out. Like, if we lose, it's fine. It's whatever. Yeah. But if we win, different story.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. I think the thing that Richmond struggled with the most is not like that flavor label you described, Kyle, is Richmond struggles when you give them the ball. Like, they don't know what to do with it. Like, if you
Omaha.
Right. Like, if you tell Richmond, like, you have to possess over 55%, Richmond's like, what? Like, what is this? But if you tell Richmond, oh, you can possess 30%, Richmond's like, all right, fine, that works for us. And I think that's what's going to happen. Like,
and I think that's why Greenville looked, they did really well in that game, but they looked very, very uncomfortable against Charlotte because they weren't able to play the possession style that they normally play. And so that's always a big adjustment when you go from, they are the possession team in USL League One. And so you have to play a different type of game. And I think, honestly, too, the biggest difference, and we were talking about a bit about this on the pre-show, the difference between Richmond and Greenville is the fact that Greenville doesn't have an ice-cold killer up top.
Yeah.
Richmond has Terzaghi. You get Terzaghi on a break, and he has the ball at his feet, 10 yards out from the goal, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, it's probably going in.
Yeah.
And you just have to burn them once. And if you burn them once, then all of a sudden it changes the game. You put them on the back of their heels, and they have to play catch up with you, and Richmond's just going to sit back.
Yeah. And I think
that's the beauty of it.
I think that's what Richmond does best. Like, I think prime example, if you look at, I'm trying to think of a game that we won 1-0. All right, look at last week game for Richmond against Charlotte, right? Charlotte dominated possession, but the thing Richmond was able to do was like, all right, you can have the ball 25 and out, but you're going to have crosses. Like, you're not just able to be just slalom through us and score. And what the Charlotte kept doing all over and over again, it was trying to create crosses, and who was cutting them out? Nathan Ani, and Jalen Corson. Even though Ani got beat for one, that's pretty much the MO. And I think Darren was cool with that. And I think that's what Darren's going to force Charlotte to do. And outside of, I don't even know if Charlotte's, I don't know what team Charlotte's going to pull out. I think it's going to be the backup team. And if that's the case, I can really see Richmond nicking this because that's probably the best case scenario for them.
Well, they're going to bring that Mid-Atlantic soccer culture to Richmond, Yogi. Aren't you excited for that?
Oh yeah,
They are going to create soccer in the South. Now that they've got Carolina, they now have to get to the South. And they're putting Richmond in that.
They're the
Charlotte
kings of the
FC,
South.
the team that created soccer below the Mason-Dixon line.
They're like the Atlanta Braves. Like everybody in the South that likes baseball likes the Atlanta Braves. Everyone in the South that likes soccer is gonna like Charlotte.
Yo, that was the thing for like the longest time. Like everyone in the South was like, "Oh, who's your favorite baseball team?" Atlanta, because that was the only baseball.
That's the only one that was on TV. And they had that TBS deal, and they were on TBS. Like, they were on cable. Like, you had the money. You could watch baseball. You had the Braves. That's what you got.
Right.
You're not going to your local channel. You got TBS Braves. Yeah, that was the team.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
they're just gonna put In Hawk Sergo Hawk on their crest now. This is the sign we conquer under. So much for the USL One Southeast expansion plan. We're all
It's all Charlotte.
all
Everyone is
teal and
affiliate of
black here,
Charlotte.
baby. Let's go.
Charlotte FC about to start treating soccer like the SEC. We just expanded, baby. We just expanded.
They're gonna go into Richmond like Coach K. Their coach is gonna go in the locker room after Richmond waxes them and tell them how big of a moment it is for their program to beat an MLS team. It's like, dude, check the trophy case.
Oh, dude, we have our team is older than some of your best players. Like, what? Like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? Oh my god!
I still can't believe they said, "Oh yeah, we have, we're bringing soccer to Carolina." It's like the longest serving team in American soccer is in the Carolinas.
Right? I was just like, wait, what? Like when I heard that line, I was like, wait, what?
Like, we give Charlotte Independence a lot of shit, but like they've been there. Like, you have North Carolina FC, aka the Railhawks. Like, it's been in that own state. So, oh god, we gotta move on. We're
Well,
not gonna.
Nathan, I know you're listening. You guys need to have like the 95 US Open Cup just sitting at midfield when that game starts.
Oh my god!
Do you guys still have it?
Yo, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it was
okay,
like
it's
a
cool.
traveling thing or whatever, but
No.
it should be at midfield to start the game or just like up in the stands or something.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man, that's hilarious. All right. You're right, Kyle. We gotta move on. Let's talk about last week's results that happened in USL League One. Oh, before we get started, let me back up a little bit. First of all, congratulations out to Coach Jimmy. Oh, he became a grandpa this past week. Congrats to him. But also, we want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Coach Tim Hackinson. For those who don't know, he was the first original coach of Chattanooga Red Wolves. He's also coach at Indy 11. I think he just got diagnosed or he is recovering from cancer. So we just want to send our thoughts and prayers out to him and wish him the best. But moving on to this weekend's past results. Greenville Triumph lost 2-0 to South Georgia Tormenta. Union Omaha proved how physical they were against Central Valley Fuego, winning 3-0. Chattanooga Red Wolves kind of let their foot off the gas pedal a little bit against the FC Tucson team that was teetering. And Richmond on a Monday night figured out how to win on the road. Is a good time. But guys, let's kind of break down the first matchup, Greenville versus South Georgia Tormenta. Like I alluded to earlier, Tormenta is now working their way with this momentum of the USL Open Cup win. Do you think Greenville kind of rested on their laurels? Do you think they were a little beat up from Charlotte FC? Or do you think there's a little bit more than that to this?
I would say it's a combo of Greenville had just played 120 minutes. Not even like about 72 hours prior. Tormenta had the day before, so Tormenta had some more rest, so I'll give it that. Greenville had 120 minutes. That doesn't help. But Greenville did a lot of things that they had a lot of possession. They had a lot of passes. They had a lot of shots. Just could not convert. And that was that was kind of the big thing. Like, Greenville was just trying. I think, Chip, you mentioned it. They didn't have a killer up top. it felt like they were knocking and they're trying to put things together, and it didn't work.
Mhm.
And then Tormenta was just like, okay, take ball. We're going to go. We're going to score. Good night.
Mhm.
And that's what it kind of felt like. I feel like the early goal really rattled Greenville to the point where, like, I don't think Greenville was expecting Tormenta to get that goal early. Also, Tormenta has been pretty good against Greenville. Like, Tormenta last year, like, Tormenta was constantly getting wins and draws against Greenville. Like, it seems like Tormenta is kind of like, not like a mental roadblock, but Tormenta seems to be this team that Greenville just struggles with from prior, even like the last few years. That seems to be like their team. Like, Ford Madison struggles with Greenville. Greenville struggles with Tormenta. Richmond struggles with, Chattanooga. It seems like that's just their team. That's just the team that they're always going to struggle with, no matter what.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You're very right.
I talked to Brandon about this on Sunday when I was rewatching the game, and if you guys don't know this, Brandon's actually on the pod too. He's just never on here, and this week it's because his team got waxed by the Bird. Kind of his comment about it was, you look at the possession, and they did have 64% of the possession, but only 31% of their possession was in Tormenta's attacking. It was in the attacking third. And when they just did nothing. It seems like there's not a lot of connection between the back line and the front line, and they're having problems like kind of finding out what to do. Kind of like what we talked about with Richmond. It's like, in Omaha's the same way. It's like, we don't want the ball. You can have it. Like, do whatever you want. It's like that old, I'm sure it's a Nebraska saying, because we had some like real troglodyte coaches, but it's like, why would I pass the ball? Only three things can happen, and two of them are bad. It's, I feel like that's like a lot of USL 1 teams kind of thought on it is, why would I want possession? Like, most of the things that can happen aren't good. And when you can't get that verticality and move the ball into the attacking third, and you're getting pressed in your defensive third, shit's going to happen. And you're out of sorts. You're not in your defensive shape. And that's really what Tormenta did. It wasn't as bad as the Greenville Fuego, where they were just slop goals. These were legit goals and legit breakdowns from Greenville. And, I don't think it's time to push the panic button if you're a Greenville fan yet. I think the teams that you faced at the beginning of the year, if you looked at them, maybe you would say, well, those teams aren't that good. But these are teams that are all probably destined for the top third or the top half of the table, especially Tormenta. I think they're going to be a playoff team. They're showing a lot of really good promise. So I don't think it's time necessarily to pull the panic button, but you really need to figure out what to do in your midfield to get those guys the ball in good spots, especially with the talent they brought in with like Coutinho from Tulsa. Like, these guys just need to figure out what's going on, because if they can't score, their whole offensive game plan the past 3 years have been built on, we're going to score first, and then we're going to sit back, and if you're going to score, it's going to be from 15 yards out. Good luck. And if you can't score, you can't do that.
True. The thing with Greenville, though, and they have the low, like, they're offensively blunt. There just is no attacking threat. Kind of like what you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
They've been so used to, we're going to score first, but they're not even defending that well either. Like, they're kind of in the middle right now in terms of their average goals against, like in terms of the expected goals against. They are right in the middle. This is not we're just a really good, stout defensive team. So if we lose, it's because you got one goal. This is not the same defensive Greenville that we've seen. And even then, you think of those first 3 games. Fuego's definitely a team that could make the playoffs. They look pretty talented. Then they have North Carolina, where, North Carolina's improved, but I'm not ready to put North Carolina as a playoff team.
Yeah.
Tormenta, as I mentioned, they could probably go on a deep cup run. They could make the playoffs, but it's not going to be like they're going to finish like top 3 or even top 4. Like, they're not going to get a home playoff game. They might get a 5 or 6. So it's kind of like, and the 2 games at home too, like, you've had 2 home matches and you've lost both of them as well. So it's kind of no team should be hitting the panic button, but when you've only scored 1 goal in your 3 games, that's concerning, because like I said, every other team has at least scored 2. NOCO's only played 2 matches and they've already got 2 goals. Like, that's where I would be concerned, is where are these goals supposed to come from? Is it going to come from Jake Keegan? Is it going to come from Gavilanes? Like, is it going to come from someone in the midfield, like an Ibarra, Don Smart? Like, that's where I would start being worried. I'm not hitting the panic button because it's only 3 matches, and Greenville had a similar slump to this last year. But you're right, Chip. Like, this is not like Greenville's been so, I think because they were so used to score first, defend, and now it's been kind of flipped where it's like, okay, we aren't scoring. So now what? Do we scrape away with like a 1-1 draw?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you guys this question, and I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Can you give me who is the oldest average age squad in USL League One?
I mean, I feel like Greenville, but I feel like it sounds like it should be Greenville, but I think in terms of yeah, I was gonna say like I figured it was gonna be a Noco.
Fuego, maybe. Fuego has some old dudes on their team.
So the oldest average squad in USL League One is Chattanooga was 26. Greenville is second, 25.6. And this is leading up to my point of I don't think there's any problem with having veteran leadership. But I think in the attacking spot, there's no real youth that has been injected into this team that has made an impact yet. Because if you think about Greenville has always been a team that relied on what? Veteran leadership, a sturdy defense, and they can go when they need to. You had a veteran goal scorer last year that left the squad this year, granted for a better opportunity, but Greenville never replaced that. And if you're not going to replace that, okay, bring in some youth that can help build that. And Chip, you made the good point before we started this podcast is Greenville and Richmond are essentially the same team. They play exactly the same way. But the thing is, if you take Terzaghi and put him on Greenville, Richmond is in Greenville position. And Greenville's in Richmond position. But also on top of that is Richmond now has other people who can help distribute that scoring with the Bolaños, with the Matt Bentley. Greenville hasn't had that yet. And then the guys are looking to create, granted, they're older. Don Smart been in the league since the league started, but we know he's getting up there in age. He's not as mobile as he used to be. He's playing further back than what he was when he started his league. People forget, he started off as a winger, and now he's playing central mid. The reason why you move a player back normally is because they're getting slower. Is he still a creative force? Yes, he is, but he's slower. Jake Keegan. I understand the love connection with Jake Keegan there in Greenville. But to bring him back and have that as your key striker piece, you kind of got to think like, all right, what's going on here? You know?
Well, and I was going to say, like, if you were just listening, like, even if you think of like some of their biggest contributors, like Tyler Pollock, 29, Aaron Walker, I think is like 30, Jake Keegan is 30, Don Smart is 34, you know, you got at least even Noah Frank, who's still young by like normal, like he's only 27, you know, Fricky 30. Like you got guys like your key pieces are older, and that's a fine thing, but it's the attack. Because like you were saying, this is kind of like what happened with Ford Madison in 2020. Their attacking options were a lot older between Don Smart and Paulo Jr. and Woj. Like that is an older group, and while they have the experience and while they have maybe a little bit more technical ability in this league, you need to have young athletic attackers. That's where you need to have that youth. It's in your attacking ranks. Having one person kind of be like your senior old head, that's good. But if all of your key contributors in your midfield and attack, not so much. Like I think that's where it kind of comes in. Because I mean, I was going to say like Aaron, I think Jesus Ibarra is pretty young. So like you have him and he's 24. And I think Noah Pilato's like mid-20s. But like the key contributors in your attack have to be athletic. If they're like, they have to be like the athletic force, and that I think is a big problem for Greenville.
Yeah, and I think losing Lachlan McLean is definitely like is a big hitting point for them right now. You know, because he's definitely someone that can help because he can do what they do best. You know, no one else in that Greenville team can create and score like he can, and that's what they don't have right now. Jake Keegan, granted, he can score. But Jake Keegan's best asset is creating. He can create. They don't have like a finisher right now. Is it time to hit the panic button in Greenville? Hell no. It's only 3 games into the season. I would not be surprised if Greenville stays on this trajectory and the goal scoring is not where they want it to be, I think they will look in the summer to add a striker, whether that's via loan or whether that's looking at like someone just out of college and be like, hey, instead of going to USL League 2, sign this USL League 1 contract and come play for us. I think you can see that happen.
And I mean, that's what Omaha did. Like, Omaha saw all their like key attackers leave, and they reloaded with younger guys from college, from USL League 2, and then added a few like experienced pieces as well. Madison kind of did the same thing. You add an experienced piece, but you add some young guys that can come in. Like, I feel like a lot of teams are doing that. And other than Richmond, like most teams, like main attacker is a young player.
Do you know who they should get this summer? We were talking about it on Slack today. They should go get Devin Boyce from Memphis.
Honestly, I don't know. Because
especially if you think Malloy's moving on, get him there, get him to play, get him comfortable again.
The only thing I can think of is why would if Devin Boyce wants to play, then yeah, coming back to USL League 1 makes complete sense. But he's done everything in there. Like, what more is there to do?
Yeah, I think Devin Boyce would work great if they were having like a creative issue. They're not having that. It's a finishing issue, and they need someone that can finish. They can create the chances. That's not the problem.
Yeah,
I think finishing is the main issue. And you kind of started with the Tormenta thing of like, just no one can finish. Like no one could get in a position to finish. Everyone can create, just no one can finish. So yeah.
But yeah, it's too early to hit the panic button. Now, if they're still in the slump and it's like June, okay. Now you should probably start hitting that panic button.
Right.
Well, especially if we get separation in the table. Because right now you got a lot of draws. But teams are starting to find out how to win. And all of a sudden, if there's like a 12-point gap, 13-point gap between you and playoff spot, then it's a little bit scary. If it's 4, 6 points, whatever, you can make that up pretty easily with a big run. But the bigger that gap gets, the scarier it gets for a team that's used to succeeding in this league.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, guys, we spent a lot of time on that, so let's go ahead. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Yu-Gi-Oh! Omaha in Central Valley Fuego. I'm going to put this out there. I want to see how you guys think. I really think Central Valley Fuego, they were in this game, but I think by the time the first goal happened, they were completely out of it. And I think they just simply came down to the fact of Fuego just got super frustrated, And Fuego kind of seemed like a team, they ride the emotional wave, and that emotional wave is not going with how they want things to go. They kind of get in their old head. They start making chirpy fouls, and they kind of just start like, well, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what was you guys' read on that game? Chip, you were there. What was your read on it?
Yeah, so I agree. I think Who Gives a Hoot is doing a really great audio visual thing this year where they're breaking down tape while they watch the game live on their YouTube channel. So you should go check that out. And they kind of called that out too. It was 30 seconds into the game and they're already going over to the ref being like, hey, where's the foul? Where's the foul? And the Union Omaha guys already up and down the field. They were looking for those calls. They weren't getting those calls, which is fine. But if you're not getting those calls, you need to start adjusting. And if they're not there, they're not going to happen. So you just need to start working for it. It was not ideal conditions. It was their first time playing on that pitch, which is a super small pitch. And then it was windy. I don't know if you guys knew or saw that we had like 60-mile-per-hour winds. Like every time the ball went more than like 6 feet off the ground, it just shot up in the air and just hung out there. Like they even had to move the cameras to the other side of the field because they go up on scissorless, which was horrible because they caught a shot of me eating a hot dog, which was just mortifying. And I went into the Liverpool game the next day and like 5 people were like, hey, did you see yourself eating a hot dog on TV? It's like, yeah, I saw it when I went back and watched the game last night. I know I eat hot dogs. Yep, sorry. But no, I think it looked good. It was one of those where like the scoreline wasn't as close as the game actually was. Hugo had a great goal at the beginning of the second half when he didn't have as much wind. And then the late goals, there was one in the 90th minute and then one in the 4th minute of stoppage time, which was a PK off a red card. So, I think if you're Omaha, you saw us create some goals. You saw create some goals off the fire. You went from a 7-day swing of against that Tormenta team, I wasn't feeling great about Omaha after that game. But then after beating the Fire, beating the Fuego, seeing what Tormenta did to Greenville, like I'm feeling pretty good. Like we can create. We have a stout defense. You know, J Mims. I'm not fully invested. I'm not ready to pull the buy a champagne button, but I'm feeling pretty good about Union Omaha. Like I got some people were asking me why I had him fourth in the league for my preseason. I was like, well, you know, a lot of question marks. And I think a lot of those question marks are starting to go away. And if you're an Omaha fan, you have a lot of really good things to hang your hat on, especially going into a winnable game, a very winnable game against Charlotte on the road. And as we know in this league, it's winnable. I'm not saying they're going to win, but it's a winnable game. And so if you do that, then you have a lot of confidence, and you have a bye week before that Open Cup game. And if you're an Omaha fan, you know, I think you're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, I think there's room for feeling good, obviously. I just want to bring out this common denominator for Central Valley Fuego. In their 3 wins, you know who was a part of it? And in their 2 losses, you know who wasn't a part of it? Used to play for Richmond, and he's Swedish. It's Mr. Victor Flack. They are missing him right now. And the reason why I say that is because, and granted, I'll put the USL, the US Open Cup game to the side. That's the other game they lost. I'll put this game out there, and you can see what was the main issue. It was you didn't have anyone that could really get into the middle of the field that can slow down Union Omaha's passing. If you ever look at the way how Union Omaha passes, what they like to do is they play a 4-4-2. But the second striker will pop up and he'll play kind of like this attacking mid-roll, and another center back will come in and they'll create a diamond in the middle of the field. So they can just create passing, but they also have outlets. And the thing how you beat that is you have your 2 main midfielders go onto their central midfielder, so man-to-man, but you have the CDM kind of lock on to the striker. And Victor Flack does that role. Probably he does that role really well. He wasn't in that game, and what Union Omaha was able to do over and over and over again was just counter, exploit space, and just pull them all over the place. Now, granted, also Fuego had a red card for the 2nd game in a row. He's with his new head coach. It just seems as if, and let me ask you guys this: do you think Fuego kind of ruined the mojo they had? Because the guy they had in the interim, he wins 3 straight. And then you bring in his new coach, and then you lose 2 straight?
Yeah. The bigger issue with Fuego with this recent match was they had the ball. They didn't do shit with it. Like, if you look at the heat map, there is not a lot in Omaha's box. There's a lot of it in their own half. And in the second half, it's a little bit more in the midfield, but they just could not cope with it. And part of that could be, yes, maybe it is a smaller field. And Fuego is definitely a team that wants to be on the ball. Fuego is the type of team that I feel like they need a wider field to operate to their full capacity with their passing and their movement. And that's not going to happen in Omaha. Like, you can't go into Omaha and try to pass away out of it. That's not to completely take away. And they were fighting until that first goal. And I think that first goal, like you both mentioned, it just took the wind out of their sails. And I mean, JP for Omaha has also been very good this year, and he has been very impressive. And he dominated, and he was dictating that midfield the whole time. So I think between those 2 things, I don't know. Again, Fuego's just one of those where I think the wind did not help. The smaller field did not help them. But I think they were tactically naive against Omaha. I think that was the bigger issue. I think they went in thinking they can play their style, and you cannot do that going into Omaha. Like, that style doesn't work.
Well, do you know how many shots they had? Not even shots on goal, shots.
I mean, they only had they did not have that many shots. That's what I'm saying. Like, they had a lot of the ball, but they didn't do shit with it. I think they
shot 4 times.
Yeah.
4. Omaha had 13. Hard to win with those numbers, especially with Nuhu between the pipes.
Right. And that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, it would have been one thing if Fuego was just getting good looks and they just couldn't take the shot off. Like, they weren't even creating good looks. So I think it was just one of those where I think they were technically naive. And I think that's more credit to J Mims and Omaha to know, like, okay, this is how they're going to play, and we're not going to let them do that. Yeah. But I don't think it has anything to do with the new coach yet. No.
All right. All right. Well, guys, let's go ahead. Let's move on to probably the most shocking result of the weekend.
And the game of the week.
Right. The team that we all thought, for the most part, was one of the upper echelon teams of USL League One versus the team we all thought were like, is this kind of like a rebuild year for FC Tucson? And they pulled the upset result against them. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw Chattanooga, I want to make sure I say this right. When I saw them up 2-1, 62nd minute at home, I turned off the game. I thought it was a wrap. I was like, oh, this is it. They're done. You know, because in Chattanooga, you normally don't see teams come back against them. And
At
FC
home.
Tucson, right. And for FC Tucson, the biggest knock on them has always been, do they have the mental fortitude to overcome that? They're like, they stay in the game, stay locked in, and boy, FC Tucson kind of shut some people up.
Yeah, I did not watch this match. I was watching the Omaha Fuego match instead because all of the matches happened at the same time. So I was like, okay, I got to pick one. So I went with, I picked the one that seemed like the most interesting. Like, I went with the one that I thought would be the most intriguing matchup. I should have
For
watched
our
this.
radio listeners, I was giving the thumbs down. That was more because they're all at once, not because of which.
Oh,
game
okay,
you
I
chose.
was like, I
You
had
picked
to
the
pick
right
one. I had to pick one. I couldn't do the tablet phone TV combo. I was still a parenting. I didn't have.
You can't watch. You really can't watch that way either. Like, watch it with like a critical eye, watching 3 games.
Well,
at
that's the
once.
thing. One of them gets the critical. The one on the TV gets the critical eye. The one on the phone is just like a, I just need background noise, and then the one on the tablet's kind of like a, let me just check. But anyway, I did not. So when I was following the score on FOTMob, and it was like 2-1, and kind of the same thing. I was like, okay, whatever, it's good. And then I saw, oh, Tucson drew. Okay, all right, good on them. Like whatever. Like wasn't expecting that, and I figured it was going to end 2-2. And then they just get the late goal. And now this is the second time that a team has gone into Chattanooga and gotten the late goal. And how many times did we say last year, this team has made a deal with the devil and they always get these late goals, especially at home. And now this is the second time that a team has come in there and gotten a late goal against them when Chattanooga either had the lead or they could have at least just said, all right, screw it. We'll take the draw and go home. And I mean, props to Tucson.
Sounds like Obleda didn't up his deal with the Devil app, trying to get that soul back.
I don't know what happened. Maybe the magic ran out. But yeah, this is. I mean, it's one thing when it happens the first time, sure, whatever. But now this is 2 times at home. Again, not to hit the panic button if you're Chattanooga. Again, I thought this was going to be a team that probably would finish first or second. They're still scoring goals left and right. Defensively, maybe a little bit more shaky defensively than we realize. And losing Ramos probably played a big role in that.
One of the big thing is Galinders. From what I can tell, Galinders didn't play.
Nope, he did not. And he tweeted he put a tweet, and I was like, "Oh, he's coming back, cool." And then he just wasn't on the bench.
Like
now my MVP
from the
is
stadium,
looking bad.
Yeah, he was like in the stadium in his short shorts, like let's go. And it's like, oh shit, there we go. But he did not. He didn't play. He wasn't even on the bench.
No, he wasn't on the bench at all. Like this is not making my MVP pick look good. Like get it together.
It's not.
Get it together.
Maybe this. And look, if Chattanooga has a horrible run of form, maybe this could turn into like the Peyton Manning MVP. You know, I think the biggest concern with Chattanooga that I have is just their center back partnership is still gelling. Because last year, you know, they probably had the best center back duo in USL League One. Like it was a very solid pair they had. And right now they don't have that. I think there's still a lot of gelling going on of communication in Chattanooga. Because even the Richmond game late on, like Richmond was still in that game, even though it ended 1-0. It wasn't as if Chattanooga dominated that game in years past. I'm not concerned about Chattanooga at all. I think they're still one of the top 3 teams in USL League One. I think it just comes down to this team just needs to play games together to figure out, like, this is twice now on our home field where we've given up 4 points. You know, do those points come back and bite you, or this is a lesson you learn? So when September, October hit, you're not giving up these opportunities. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Obleda is giving them that message with them. I want to ask you guys this: do you think old Bleda is telling his grandchild now of how to play shithousery soccer, the Atletico Madrid version of soccer?
I was gonna say the Everton because that was pitiful showing otherwise, but not yet. I think depending on when this child was born, I'd say by next week. By next week, he'll start doing it. Give the child some time. Give the parents some time to enjoy. Bring him home from the hospital, and then that first visit from Grandpa, it's on.
So look, this is how you slide tackle, but you don't break the ankle. Slide at the ankle.
He's going to pull up some kind of footage of Atletico Madrid. He's going to have Simeone, and he's going to be like, "This is football heritage.
This is what we do, son."
Yeah. He's gonna be in the sandbox with this kid and all the other grandkid and all the other kids. He's just gonna take his little baby hand, grab onto the back of another baby's jersey, just pull the hand for him, and be like, "Felt good, didn't it? Felt good." You can play for Grandpa one day if you learn that.
Probably so. All right, and the last game of the week, Monday Night Football itself. Richmond went on the road to Charlotte FC, and as the announcer wanted to come telling you, Richmond has not won in Charlotte since 2018. Folks, 2018 is the last time Richmond was in USL Championship.
I heard that. I was like, okay, if that's the stat you want to go with.
Like, I understand they needed the talking point, but that wasn't the talking point. And then also what tripped me out is they were like, oh, look at all these Charlotte independent supporters in the stadium. And they just zoomed in, and like 89% of it was Charlotte FC supporters. Like, there was the flag. It was them with their jerseys. I'm like, they're just here for practice. They're here for a practice and $2 beers. That's all. That's what they heard.
Well, that's your 2-pull for the Open Cup game. You know, we already beat you beat bums on April 25th. What are you doing back?
Right. But talking about the game itself, I will say this. I'm proud of Richmond. Because I think the thing on us last year was we were horrible on the road. We were very horrible on the road. I think we did a very good job of staying in this game, not getting too discombobulated. I think the thing Richmond did excellent was taking care of the opportunities, you know, and it's so good to have a second striker that can score. We didn't have that last year. I mean, granted, Bologna scored a couple of goals, but someone that can also, like another person that can score outside of those two is excellent. And also Bolaños being out doesn't help. So also Charlotte's a lot better than what I expected them to be. And that's why
I was going to say that. Maybe
they're a lot better than what I expect. I think Charlotte FC has to do two things to be better. One, you got to drop Ibarra. He's slowing up that midfield. You got to drop him. Two, I think if you drop Ibarra, I think if you move Duty up to a CDM, I think he goes off the charts. The boy can play. But I'm glad we got to win on the road. That's what I'm going to say.
For me, it's just more this team just cannot defend anything. And that it's one thing when it's like, okay, what I figured with Charlotte, like the reason why I was just so low on this, I didn't know who the hell they had. And then all of a sudden they pop up with Miguel Ibarra. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they had their first couple games, and yeah, they lose to Fusion on the Open Cup. Okay, whatever. Now we see maybe Fusion's pretty good, but it's also just like we've seen now defensively, this team is just very, very fragile. And you can see it in that first goal. Like they just let Emmy just run in and get it. And that second goal, they just are all over the place as that cross comes in. They're just like not even close. Like no one's marking the attacker. No one's even trying to put and stop. And like they're just defensively so frail. And I think if they can figure out a way to tighten that up, then the attack is good enough. The attack is good enough to get them points. But now you lose your best player for the next game, and that's going to hurt.
Oh, no. when he went off, I was just sitting in my little office here, just like,
not gonna lie, when Tucson got that, not Tucson, when Fuego got that red card, I was like, crying shame.
Man, my wife's like, what the fuck is going on in there? And I was like, don't ask.
No, not at all.
But no, and I think that was hilarious though, that red card. Obviously, the penalty was not the funniest thing in the world. See you, Yogi. But I was I guess you have to like walk in between some bleachers and like go out to the parking lot and into wherever their locker room was, and they just had a camera on him walking off. And I was like, this dude's gonna like rip off his top and chuck into the stands or like kick a trash can or something. And they're just like following him in. It's like, oh, something must have happened because they're just like following him, and nothing did. But I was quite excited about him going out. But yeah, that was the crazy thing about that game too, is they had 71% of possession.
Something like that. It was. Yeah, let me double check real quick because I'm going to pull it up. But again, it was kind of one of those where you see what they're doing attack wise. And in this one, it was kind of more of a, well, they're doing fine. Like, if they had literally just defended better, they could have walked out with a 1-1 draw. Because I think they even still like had 19 shots. They had 7 on target. Like, they were attacking pretty well. The heat map is ridiculous. If you look at the heat map, it's just one of those where I was like, oh, damn. Okay, good on you. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of seemed like but it plays right into Richmond's hands.
Well, it's one of those ones where if you don't have Akira, that scoreline might look different. So it was 19 shots, 3 of them were considered big chances.
Yeah.
So it's like Charlotte had a lot of really good opportunities and they just couldn't convert on them. And, I wouldn't say this is like a welcome to the league type of game for them, but it's definitely one of those where.
Okay, I do have to ask Yogi, how concerned are you with how many shots Akira's facing?
Because
he is distancing himself. He has faced 23 shots. And the next closest is 12.
I'm not as concerned if this wasn't Richmond's MO. Like, Richmond, since Darren's been there, Richmond's never been a team to have possession. It's always been, we're going to rely on our defense, exploit opportunity to be counterattacking. And that's not a bad thing. I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much. Because I think a lot of the shots that Akira's face sometimes are they're easy saves that come right to him and it gets chalked up as a save, but it's not a dangerous shot. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think in this game he faced 5 shots. He had 5 saves, right?
Akira had, let me double check. There were 19 shots, 7 of them were on target. One of them's a goal, so
yeah, 7 shots. But out of that 7 shots, 5 of them were right to them, but they get marked up as a save. Only 2 of them were like, oh, like, is he gonna get this? So I don't know. I'm not as concerned. I think the biggest issue is I think that our midfield is set up very defensively with Dakota, Zaka, and Neil. And Neil's the attacking person of that. But I think Darren, you see this when Ethan Bryant comes on, the team, it frees up a lot. Like, because they're able to hold the ball a little bit more because now you have another creative person on the field in that midfield slot because that's not what Terzaghi is. Like, Terzaghi's not a creative person. He's more of the finisher. Like, we all saw the experiment trying Terzaghi as a central attacking mid. It did not work out well. So I think getting Ethan Bryant back healthy is a huge plus. What that does for Dakota, does he move back to the center back spot? Maybe so. But right now, I'm not as concerned about it because I think if you told Darren, like, hey, you're going to win a game 1-0, Akira's going to make 4 or 5 saves, are you cool with that? He'll probably tell you, yeah. Because out of that 4 or 5 saves, maybe one of them was one where he really had to like dive out and push it past the post. The other 3 came straight to him.
Yeah.
So I'm not as concerned because it's not like teams are just pinging shots at him directly in front of goal. A lot of these shots, if they are, is 20, 35 yards out. So Akira could get there. And the majority of them, like all 3 goals this year. Well, no, the first 2 goals that we got beaten on were transitional defense. So Akira couldn't save it anyway because Lachlan McLean had probably the goal of the year, start the year off with. The Chattanooga goal, a fullback didn't pick up. One of the fullbacks didn't pick up what's his name in Chattanooga. And then the Charlotte goal, the Charlotte player just out jumped Ani. That's it. So it's not like we're getting pinged out of shots. So I'm not worried at all right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just wondering because obviously, like you look at the statistics and it's like, okay, Akira's facing a lot of shots, and so far he's not allowing any of them. How sustainable is that? It was kind of more of a how sustainable could this really be? And like you were saying, like if most of these shots, I mean, if the shots are going straight at him, easy saves, saves that you would expect him to make, that's one thing. It's not like he's standing on his head most of the time with these saves.
No. Now you might have 1 or 2 of those a game, but it's not like every save is like that. Yeah, no. I'm not too concerned. All right, y'all. Before we go talk about the games next week, let's take a little bit of time. Let's talk about our top 3 teams in the league. So pretty much, we saw the power rankings. Some of y'all power rankings are whoever put Tormenta as number 1. You're kind of right. Whoever put Tucson as number 1.
Great. Okay, this was done before this previous weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
That has to be mentioned. This was before the weekend, this previous weekend matches, which makes it even more wild if you had put Tucson up there.
Right. So guys, give me your top 3 teams in USL League One right now.
Kicker's number 1, I think, right now. That's the only reason Yogi wants to do this segment.
No, actually, I did not have Richmond number 1, but wow, okay.
The record can show that I was the one that suggested doing this because we've talked about it like 100 times. I think Richmond, they 7 points, 4 games. It's nothing to sniff your nose at. They have very convincing wins. They've not really like what is even Richmond's worst game right now? If we pull it up, Richmond's worst game,
probably the Chattanooga game.
Yeah, which I have Chattanooga at number 2. So for me, it's like, shit happens. And then number 3, I feel like a homer picking this, but I think they've really shown a lot of growth the past week. And I have Omaha number 3, and we only asked for top 3. A lot of that is because I have Tormenta at number 4 right now. So I look at Omaha and there's so many flawed teams right now that an Omaha
that's the
team
issue.
Right.
So I'm looking. I have Richmond and Chattanooga top 2, just because I mean when you win multiple games this season, you automatically get that. Yeah. And then after that, it's kind of like a lot of teams have won at least 1 game, and then you have Fort Bass who haven't lost, but they also haven't won a game. And then you have Hailstorm who've only played 2 matches, and then you have Greenville who I think everyone would agree as of right now. Probably bottom. I would go Tormenta, not necessarily because, and I go back and forth. Like Omaha and Tormenta are I'm kind of like juggling between the 2. Because Omaha, you go to Madison your first league game, not an easy, and you get the draw. Granted, probably feel like they should have won.
And they're not a team we play good against.
Right. And then you go to Tormenta, and Tormenta's been better. But you also could argue probably should have won that one as well, because Tormenta went down to 10 men. And then you went at home against Fuego. So, okay, you got that. Then on the flip side, you have Tormenta. And I think I'm going to put Tormenta 3 just because they really did outplay North Carolina that first game and just could not finish. And I think 9 out of 10 times Tormenta wins that game. You get the draw against Omaha, and I mean, you're down to 10 men. Could have, had it not been for 10, maybe they could have won. But you at least held on, and then you go and get this win at Greenville, which maybe that's not as impressive depending on how it goes down the road. But I think I'm going to slightly lean towards Tormenta just because if they just simply finish one of those chances against North Carolina, they are unbeaten. They have 5 points as well. And I think Tormenta probably, and I think I'm going to slightly go Tormenta just because I think out of the 3 games, they've looked more impressive in those three than Omaha. But also Omaha has played three tougher teams. I think Omaha has played two tougher teams than Tormenta has.
So for me, I'm gonna include US Open Cup in this just because like the totality of the team.
Oh, we're putting that in there? Well, okay. Well,
for me.
Fair.
Yeah, because I think that's like the dividing factor for me. Because it's like it's hard right now to be like who's number one, who's number two, because every team you can go pros and cons for. You know?
Mhm.
Like if I just looked at the top three, like Richmond, all right, Richmond is the number one team, but offensively, like, can they create enough chances? Chattanooga, can the team gel enough to not give up leads? And then Union Omaha, all right, they're riding high right now in the moment, but let's say if JP Series like doesn't score, who else in there can score? You know? So it's like every team has holes. So I was like, you gotta look at the US Open Cup for me. And the number one team right now, the number one team for me is Union Omaha. I think right now, just based on how they're playing, they're the best team in USL League One. Form wise, everything like that.
Do you know who didn't play when we played Chicago Fire?
Number two is Tormenta. I'll put Tormenta number two. Beating you two USL championship teams is kind of high up there on my list. And then also like getting a good road win against your rival in Greenville and not doing it in a fashion where, oh, you kind of peaked this like at the last second. Like, no, like you won. Like you won handedly. And having your big key players do that, I think is big. And I think Tormenta is riding the momentum into this week's slate of games. And then number three, right now I'm going to put Chattanooga. Even I know they lost the game against FC Tucson. Excuse me. But I don't think that's indicative of how they are as a team. I think they are a solid team. I have Richmond just out right now just because of they're winning games, but they're not winning them convincingly. Does that make sense?
What about the Tucson one? Do you not consider the Tucson win at the beginning convincing? And that's just an honest question.
I consider that convincing, but it's also like we opened the year like that against the Revs, too, where we won 3-0, and then it took all the way to September for us to link multiple wins together. You know? So this can change. Like, if Richmond goes out here, beats Fort Madison, loses to Charlotte FC in extra time or something, and then draws with Omaha and beats them, but yeah, I think Richmond goes up. But Richmond has to be able to link wins together. You know, they just can't win, draw, lose, like how kind of last year was. They got to be able to put wins together and build a momentum. So that's why I have them missing out right now.
So you want to hear a fun little thing? Based off of expected points, try and guess who the team in third place is based off of expected points.
Expected points?
Yes. So this is on reality of based off of the goals that they should have, like based off of expected goals for and expected goals against and how that would turn out. Richmond is first with 5.5. Tormenta is second with 5.49. So that's saying Tormenta realistically should have more points. Guess who's third? Charlotte, 5.32.
That doesn't surprise me.
And it makes sense when you consider Charlotte was minutes away from getting 2 extra points. But Charlotte's just they're so interesting. And I think that might be a team that later on. But I would say right now it is such a clusterfuck in the middle. Like you can honestly throw a dartboard and say this is probably like, and I'm going to say like 5th best team because I feel like Union Omaha and Tormenta kind of jostle for that 3 and 4. And then you just throw a dartboard at 5th and it's like, you can make a convincing case for Charlotte. You can make a convincing case for Fuego. You can do it for North Carolina. You can do it for Tucson. You can do it for Madison. You can do it for NoCo. I feel like other than Greenville, you can make a convincing case that any other team could be 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You can make a great case for anyone, really, right now. Yeah.
Which is why we love this league.
It's tight as, and you know the thing about it is, man, it's gonna stay this tight to probably August, when like 10 or 11 are just trailing behind, and then in September, 98 are going to start falling away. You know, like it's insane. It's insane. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and talk about this week's slate of games that are coming up. We got Friday Night Football. Who doesn't love a good Friday Night Football, folks? Chattanooga Chattanooga welcomes Greenville to their humble abode. Guys, how do you think this game is going to play out? Does Greenville need to get a win here? Is it time for the panic win, or do you think get a draw, kind of settle things out? What do you guys think on this one?
It's not time for a panic win, but it's time for a let's at least look good. Let's at least show that we're better than what we've put out so far. Like maybe it's not a we need a win, but it's definitely we can't be playing like we have outside of the cup matches. Bad.
If you're Greenville, even getting a draw here, I think is good.
Yeah.
With how not good they've been. They haven't been bad, they've just been not good. And so I think, Greenville's going to come in here full of piss and vinegar. Chattanooga is going to be pretty steamed after
also
that win.
Full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
So we're saying a red card is going to happen.
I'm saying this is chaos. This is the chaos match of the week.
Mm-hmm.
This is the chaos match of the week for me. You got two teams that need to try and put a statement out of we are better than what we've shown.
I think one more than the other. I think Chattanooga has shown how good they are. I think Greenville is like,
but Chattanooga hasn't shown it consistently.
That's true. I think Greenville needs it more because Greenville has to show
and
we got to get the ball going. Because after this, if you don't win here, you got Fort Madison coming up, then you get North Carolina, then Chattanooga again. So the next two games, not saying Fort Madison is easy, Kyle. Don't take that wrong, but it loses up a little bit versus what you faced started off the year. You know what I mean?
Also, Greenville's had a very home-heavy schedule.
Yeah.
And if you can't get these wins and you can't get these points at home, it's going to make your season a lot more difficult later on.
It's the reverse Omaha with all the road games to start the season.
I was going to say, that's just the Midwest, Omaha, Madison, where you start on the road most of the season, then you get 5 games in a month at home in June.
Mm-hmm. Well, I let Twitter pick this one because I didn't know what to do. But if you're coach of Bleda, what happens when Greenville sneaks one past in the first minute of stoppage time of the 90th minute?
There's gonna be him and Hart's gonna fight.
Something's gonna happen. I do think a draw,
DC, baby. Hart's to DC.
Maybe that's why Hart's isn't doing so well. He doesn't want to go to MLS. He's like, I want to stay here. Let me try it. Sandbag.
I've been trying to push this man to DC since the second year.
First you tried to push him to Atlanta. Now you're doing DC.
Well, see, it went Atlanta and then Charlotte, and now it's one of these. So I'm just working my way up 95, and then eventually it's going to be Philly, and then we're going to go to one of the New York teams, and then Revs, and then we're going to start all over again in Miami. We're just work our way up 95.
I'm going to wake up on random Wednesday, and Yogi's going to have posted shipping up to Boston by the Dropkick Murphys. I'm like, did they fire their coach at Revs too? Where did he go?
Right. Just hire the man.
But I think a draw feels right here. And I think if you're Greenville, that's probably a result you're okay with. And if you're Chattanooga, that's probably a result you're not okay with.
Yeah. I feel like a 1-1 draw. I don't know.
The last 3 have gone Greenville's way. Now, granted, also the last 3 have also been in Greenville. So do with that information what you will.
I'm still staying with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, Greenville owns this series. It's 5 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses to Chattanooga. I'm gonna go Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga wins this 2-1. I just got concerns about Greenville's ability to score. I just have concerns about it. And can they do enough to create chances to score? I don't think they can right now. Moving on to the next game, we got Kyle. We got your boys. Welcome them in Central Valley Fuego. You guys
Why
are doing
the fuck is this game starting at 5? Is my first question. Also, I'm
not
mad. But I'm so confused.
Goddamn carnival fiesta going on.
It got canceled.
And what is this? Also like a Disney night? Y'all about to get sued by Marvel.
It is Marvel night.
About to get sued by everybody out here. how do you guys think this game is going to play out? Is Central Valley Fuego going to learn how to control their tempo and how to control their attitudes in this game? Let me correct that. Not attitudes. Learn how to control the moments of the game and be better at that. And is Forward Madison finally going to stop getting these draws and finally knock a win out?
I do think this is the Forward Madison win. I think they should have won in Tucson. And had it not been for the red card, they would have won in Tucson. And I think between that, the suspension that Fuego's facing, another West Coast, another trip for Fuego that they're going to have to travel for, and finally it's going to be nice weather in Madison, which might help with, getting more turnout and better playing conditions. But no, I do think this is a game that Madison can go in and get the win. They have the week off. Yes, they played a scrimmage. That was just more obviously build fitness. They've had a week off. They've had that break. I do think this is the game that they can go in and get that win that they really want to get. So I'll say a Forward Madison win.
I think this is going to be a lot like Madison versus Chattanooga, but reversed. During that game, Madison bit hard on every single piece of bait that Chattanooga gave him. You even had Obleda like working the sidelines a bit, lots of cards. Chattanooga surprisingly came off pretty scot-free in that one. I think the shoe's on the other foot, though. I think Fuego is going to go in. They're going to be frustrated with how physical Madison's playing, and they're going to have to play a real, backyard brawl type of game. I don't really think that they're set up for it, especially if the calls aren't falling for them, which they tend to not do in Madison. So I think, you're going to have a real tough game, and Madison fans, I think, are going to walk away with this one with 3 points. Probably 2-1.
Yeah, I can see 2-1. I can see 2-1 again. I think Fuego's going to get in their own heads again, unfortunately. Like, I can see Fuego getting a third red card for a third consecutive game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about a red card. They'll probably definitely get plenty of yellows, but I don't know what the score will be. I think Forward Madison win. I just don't know what score.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting, folks. Next game, I think is probably going to be one of the highest scoring games in USL League One over the weekend. We got Charlotte Independence versus Union Omaha. Charlotte, zero defense. They don't care, but they can score a goal. And Union Omaha can stifle a team out, but they can also score, I suppose. It's kind of like the immovable object meets the
unstoppable force.
Yeah, the unstoppable force. I can't remember the last part of it, but that's what this kind of feels like. Guys, how do you think this game's going to play out?
I think if it weren't for the red card, I'd say this is a draw, but I think this is a Union Omaha win. I think Union Omaha is gelling at the right moment. I think Charlotte's defense leaves a lot to be questioned, and Omaha seems to be figuring it out in the attack. So I will give Omaha a 2-0 win.
2-0 win. All right. Kyle, what you got? I mean, Chip, what you got, my man?
I was going to say I'm on the same page as Kyle for this one. I won't be watching this game. I'll be at a musical, which has been the trend.
Which musical now? How many musicals have you watched in the last month?
Wicked. They because of Husker season, they backload them all into spring, which like last year when they started the season so late wasn't a problem, but this year there's a lot. And
that makes more sense. I was just like, good Lord, I feel like you've been in a musical every week.
More or less, yeah. But I think this game, I think Charlotte had the red card of one of their best players. So that's going to hurt them. I think Omaha is riding high right now. Omaha's going to have a lot of confidence coming into this game. It's going to be a 2-0 win, but it's not going to look that way on paper. I think they're going to have a lot of fight. They're going to put some shots on target, but ultimately Nuhu and the boys in the defense are going to make sure that they come away fruitless. But I was telling people at the game last week that they shouldn't take this game for granted, that Charlotte was a lot better team than a lot of us think they are. And, just be prepared because they're not the team that they're not NCFC from last year.
I'm going to go with Charlotte in this one, man. Well, hold on. Let me take that back. Mumbai. What's his name is missing? Yeah, no. I can't even then. It's going to be in your Omaha. I think he's just too consistent. Just too consistent. And Chattanooga really plays, I mean, not Chattanooga. Charlotte plays really high up the field and he lead goals. Yeah. Union Omaha. The more I thought about it,
if it wasn't for the fact that they did get their best player suspended, it would be a different story. But when your main attacking option is out.
And I feel like this is the kind of game where Jay Mims is going to be like, you see Miguel Ibarra? Hound the living dog shit out of him. Like, I feel like that's going to be like, I feel like there's a player in Jay Mims' locker room that Jay Mims has designed for each player, like special player on USL League One. And he's going to go to the Mad Laboratory, pick up the Miguel Ibarra player and be like, this is your game. You're not doing anything else. You're not passing. You're not combining, shooting. Your goal is to hound the living dog shit out of him. And that's just what's going to happen. Like, I would not be surprised if this is Miguel Ibarra's worst game of is his time in USL League. I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Well, the big thing, too, about Mbuyu being out is the right flank is kind of Omaha's weakest area right now. So with him out, especially, like, I don't know who they're going to put there, but that's a big relief off of those guys in planning for this game. Is all of a sudden you probably figured you're going to get hounded all game by the best player on Charlotte's team, but all of a sudden it's like, who's playing there? Like, what are they going to do now? So I'm sure that made game prep a lot easier, and hopefully, I think we're already past the discipline process, so he shouldn't have his red card rescinded, so we should be good to go. Plus, that was a horrible foul. That was definitely
I was going to say, that was definitely a red card, and I'm trying to look at the news, and I didn't see any news that it was rescinded.
Yeah. Crisco definitely baited that man. He definitely baited that man. I love Crisco, but he baited that man.
You do what you gotta. You do what you gotta.
Yeah, right. Funny enough, Richmond leads the league in red cards because that's a Richmond thing. I mean yellow cards, not red cards. Next game we got another game of the Carolinas because Charlotte FC created football, so we gotta have football there. We got North Carolina FC versus NoCo Hellstorm. Guys, can North Carolina FC finally get a win at home for Olex Anderson?
No.
Damn.
I don't know, because I feel like here's the thing with North Carolina. North Carolina, and it's not to the extent of like Obleda or Harks. I feel like North Carolina is intentionally going in like, we're just going to make this as unwatchable as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know how and if there is a team that can take advantage of, okay, screw that, we're going to score, and we're going to try and score right away, it is NoCo. But I can see one of those where if it's like 20, 30 minutes and that frustration starts mounting up for NoCo, can they create a goal out of nothing do they have a plan B? Do they have a plan C? Because we know plan A with like Para, and we know with, EVD or Lockley McLean, like they have plans A, B, maybe even C. What happens when they're not able to get the ball? They're not able to create. And North Carolina is going to make sure that they're going to make this a miserable time. I don't know. I can see this being a draw only because North Carolina has surprised me in that I figured they'd be better, but I feel like they've taken a more pragmatic approach than I had expected.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a draw.
Yeah, I feel like this game is a draw.
Plus, I feel like every week there has to be at least 2 draws.
That's the league
at the moment.
And I've got Greenville and Charlotte as one, and Chattanooga, and then now I have this. These are my 2 draws of the week.
I don't know. I think they win. They win this one 2-1.
Who? NoCo?
NoCo. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, NoCo wins 2-1.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I don't know, man. Like, I want North Carolina to kick it into next gear, and I feel like they're just struggling.
What if this is their next gear?
Man, that's sad if it is. I don't know, man. I don't know, because I feel like North Carolina is going to be able to balance out NoCo to the point where it's just going to be a battle in the midfield, and then I think about, okay, can Ken Noko's defense, who's looks solid, don't get me wrong, but can they be solid enough against an Olex that we know can get it behind and against a Graham McLaughlin that's been solid? North Carolina going forward has not been the issue. It's been their defense. And can their defense stop it to the point to stop Lachlan McCain, Ivan Para, and EVD? I don't know. And I feel like both teams are going to score, and I feel like I want to go a draw. I'm just going to go with a draw on this one. Yeah. I don't know. But last game we got coming up, we go out to West Coast time.
Vibes.
FC Tucson versus South Georgia Tormenta. Guys, before we even pick a winner, what is the over-under on goals that's going to happen in this game?
What are we setting? What are we setting the over under at first, and then I will.
I have it at 2.5.
Oh, over.
I will say the last time we did this, we set it at like 4.5, and there was 1 goal scored. So,
Oh yeah, that's true.
but yeah, I feel over.
You feel over?
Yeah.
I'm definitely saying over. I think Tormenta wins. I feel like this is a 3-1, 3-2. I'm just not convinced about Tucson defensively. I just have a lot of concerns about Tucson.
I agree with that. I agree with
And
that.
that was their big thing last year when they finally figured it out was, you know what, whatever, we're going to score 3 goals. If you score 4 goals, that's fine, but at least we scored 3. If you can't score 3, oh well, you lost. And I think that's, you know, what really worked for them last year was that high press, high attack, high octane, everything, and we're just going to score. And if you score, that's fine, but we're going to run it right back, and we're going to make this as a track meet. And that's what they want. That's what they wanted to do last year. And I think if they want to do that again, I think South Georgia is going to let them do it.
But the thing is, they want to do that, but South Georgia, Tucson is a team that you can press their defenders, and you're going to create turnovers, and you're going to create problems for them. Unless Bedoya has the ball, there's no one else on Tucson that's like super comfortable with the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You know what game I can't wait for is when they play Charlotte FC. I mean, Charlotte Independence.
Oh, God.
It is going to be silly season. That game might end 5-5.
Yeah,
That'd be
no, I am feeling good about Tormenta. I will say a 3-1 or 3-2 win for them. They're Tormenta scoring at least 3.
Yeah.
Chip, did you give your prediction yet?
3-2. Sorry for those who can't tell, I have a cold and I'm trying to prevent you guys from seeing me blowing my nose.
I'm
hearing.
gonna go. F it. It's vibes. I'm gonna go 4-2 Tormenta.
Well, your Titans did some shit.
What did we do?
What
What did we do? What did we do?
Your Titans did some shit. I just need to see the reaction.
Man, what the fuck?
For those that aren't paying attention, the Titans traded AJ Brown, basically their number 1 receiver, for the 18th pick and a 3rd round pick.
I couldn't figure out why we were at 18 for the longest.
There we go. Sorry, it like popped up and I was like, oh.
Oh.
Bro, I hate this thing. Everyone have a good night.